Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So today's video, we're going to be doing some design work. We're going to be wireframing and designing a welcome slash splash page and a sign in and a sign up page for an app. So without further ado, let's get into it. Alright guys, so the first step in my design process is always to paper wireframe. Even if the designs are going to be super simple, like I said, we're going to be designing a welcome page, a sign in, and a sign up page. Those are very simple frames to design. I still think it's a good idea to paper wireframe, and I personally like using two applications, but today I'm going to go over one. It's called Mockup, and so I'm just going to launch this right here. And I like using this app because it is specifically designed for mockups, and so I'm going to hit new design, and we're just going to use the iPhone 12 Pro or iPhone 12 because that's the phone that I have. And so I really like this app just because, like it says, it's got a grid, it's simple, and it does exactly what it's supposed to. It's supposed to help you do some mockups. One of the things I want to iterate with paper wireframing is that the quality does not really matter. I think the amount of ideas that you get from it is what matters most. So this is going to be our welcome page right here, and then I'm just going to add something very simple. So this is probably going to be our logo, and then we're just going to have a button here that says welcome, right? And we can just, and obviously this is going to have a background, but it can be as simple as that. So when you launch the app, you're going to be greeted with the logo and a button to prompt you to welcome you. For sign up, we're probably going to need a name, a password, an email, and then a password. Right? I believe that's the basic information you need to collect to sign up. And so because this is the sign in, we probably only need an email or username. We can decide that later. And then that's the text input, a password. Oh, I misspelled that a little bit. And then a field to input, and then a button to click to confirm. And so you see here, we've quickly designed 3 frames that we can then go on to and create some digital wireframes from. I think this is a good place to start. There's obviously so many other ways that you could design this page. For instance, we could also do a sign in slash sign up page. So maybe we can split it here, and it can say sign in, sign up, and then we can have this same logo and then we can put version 2, sign up slash sign in. There you go. So we've got 3 different versions. So obviously we've got our welcome page, we've got our sign up and our sign in page. Oh, actually this should say sign in. And we've got this one right here, which just gets the job done in one page. But that's all we have for that. The next step is to take these designs and then work with them in Figma. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and click export, and I'm going to export the images as screens. Now I've opened up my Figma page, and all I'm going to do now is just start a new design file, and I'm just going to import those wireframes that we did on the mockup app, and we're just going to work from there. We're going to make sure Then we add a title, so we're going to call this design challenge number 1. And I'm just going to group them. And then we're going to call this group, we're going to call it paper wireframes. All right, so now that we have this here centered, we're going to go ahead and start adding some frames. And I like to work with the phone that I have currently. So I have a 12 Pro technically, but they don't have that. So we'll just add the 13 here, and we'll just go ahead and duplicate this one for each one of these. And I actually like to, you know what, we'll leave them white for the sake of the contrast, having some nice contrast in this video. Let's go ahead and align them here, and we're going to call this welcome page V1, welcome page V2. We're going to call this one sign in screen. And we're going to call this one sign up screen. Alright, and then you want to make sure that you are naming all of these frames and naming and keeping things as organized as you can be. It can be very tedious, and especially if you're not prompted to think about those things, you might forget to do that. But trust me, it is very annoying later down the road, because you're going to have, like, every element that you add here is going to be named, or is going to have a name to it. And so if you don't if you're not in the habit of organizing those things, it can be a little bit difficult as well. Alright, go ahead. Alright, so that thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and add some curvature to these. Let's add 15, just so that they're a little bit rounded, so they start looking a little bit more rounded like an iPhone screen would. But obviously these are wireframes, so that it doesn't have to be that serious. Alright, so let's start with the first one. We've got our template here. We're just going to add 2 buttons here. So I'm going to go ahead and type, and the way I like to add buttons is I like to add some text. And I'm going to put sign up, and then I'm going to right click, and I'm going to add auto layout, and then we're going to go ahead and center that. We're going to add a stroke. We're going to round this. Let's go 15 as well. Actually, that might be too big. Let's go 8. Perfect. And this one, let's keep this button. Let's make this a size 20. Alright, perfect. And we are going to call this, sign up button. And so we have a button here, and because it has auto layout to it, it is going to keep it centered, because I've set the constraints here, set their spacing, and it's centered, so there's always going to be that. And then once we have that, I'm just going to click, and I'm just going to create another one, and this one's going to say sign in. I want to highlight, make sure that they're both. Alright, and I'm just going to go ahead there, zoom out. Oh, don't know why that happened. Alright, so we have sign up, sign in. We're going to add the box for the logo. That's pretty simple. We're going to just add a rectangle here, and we're going to center it on the screen. And then let's just add some lines just to denote the fact that this is, let's just add a text box here, and it's going to say logo. And let's make this a little bit smaller, and we'll just add that inside this here. And so we have right here our first digital wireframe that has been converted from our paper wireframe. So we've got the text, the logo here, and then our 2 buttons here. And this is obviously not going to be the final shape or design. These are just wireframes. So these are just like a stand-in, a very rough draft of what the final product is going to look, but we'll just build on top of that. Now we got to add the email username. Okay, so there's a couple ways that we can do this. I personally am just going to add a text box here, and it's going to say, whoa, can't be size 36. Let's go size 14. Let's go email / username. Let's click our frame. Let's add a grid. Actually, we forgot to add a grid. I personally like using columns, and let's add 16. All right, I like using an odd number of columns, so there's always one in the center. I find that I just really like designing with that, with an odd number of columns. I think it just allows me to space things. I don't like to have any elements or text or icons right at the edge of the screen, but I do want to get as close as possible. So size 16 does help with that. All right, so now that we have that, let's go ahead and turn off our grid for now, but we've already set it. We've already set up our grid. We can just turn it off for now. All right, don't know what I did there. There you go, that's what I meant to grab. All right, we're gonna grab our username, and then I wanna create a rectangular box too. I wanna create like a field for it. All right, let's add some rounding to that. We're gonna add 8. The fill is gonna be white, just because it doesn't have to be crazy. We are going to add a stroke to it though. All right, and inside that, let's add a text box as well. Let's bring it to the front, and we're going to make the text thinner. So it's going to be light, and it's going to be at 50% opacity. And that is just going to be like Jane Doe at gmail.com as an example here. And actually I really like that look, and we're just going to line this up right now. Obviously once we're done with these elements, we're going to go ahead and align them with our grid, but for now that'll work. So now I'm just going to duplicate that. All right, I'm going to change this, and it's going to say password, and I'm going to change this text, and I'm just going to add asterisks. Alright, and then let's go back and let's click on our frame, and let's turn on our layout grid again. Alright, so we've got our layout grid turned on, and we're just going to align some of our elements to that grid. These ones should be centered, which means that this text box, I should probably move it around there just so that it's not looking out of place. I'm going to center this one too. The same thing is going to happen with this, and let me just center that and then align it with that. Let's turn off the grid. Let's zoom out a little bit and see how we're looking. All right, so not bad. So you see we've got our hand-drawn designs, and we've got already what looks to be really improved designs, even from just the paper wireframe to the digital wireframe. All right, so our last screen to create before we start doing higher end mockups is our sign up. All right, and let's zoom out. And we have officially wireframed all of our designs here. And I think now we are ready to move on to the next process, which is to create our high fidelity mockups of these designs. Let's see, let's go to our plugins. Let's go to some images. Let's see. Actually, let's go to some illustrations and let's get inspired and see what kind of app we want to mock up today. All right, perfect. So this is going to be our logo for our app. So I think we're going to design a cycling app. It's looking like now. So let's go ahead and zoom in a little bit. Let's center this. All right. So this is a biking app. Let's just say this is a biking app for meeting up with other cyclists in your area. All right. And the name of our app is going to be called, what do we call it? Cycly. Is that a cool name? Or Bikely? Yeah, we'll call it Bikely. All right, so this is our app, or our logo for our app. It's called Bikely. It's for finding your people. And actually, you know what? Maybe we'll add a little piece, a little motto to find your people. And then we'll do this one like in a size 14. Just so people understand. And we're gonna make sure this is centered. Oh, wrong alignment. There you go. Bikely, find your people. All right, and then I'm just going to group this, and then we're gonna call this Bikely logo. All right, and we're gonna make sure our logo is centered, and boom, look at that. All right, perfect. So we have our logo designed. Didn't take long. We didn't obviously we don't want to spend a ton of time getting bogged down on that. All right, so we're gonna add the sign up and the sign in buttons for our app. All right, so let's create our first button. All right, I'm gonna use the font Montserrat, just because I think it's really nice. And then in sign up, and we will put this in like a semi-bold. Yeah, I really like that. And then let's increase this size to like, all right. Now let's add auto layout. Perfect. Let's add a stroke, and then let's round that stroke to 15. And this is where I think it'll be nice to fill it in with this blue here, which means that this text needs to be white. And I don't know that we need the stroke then. Perfect. And then because we have auto layout, let's add a little bit of cushion. And then let's make sure that this is centered. Oh, that looks very nice. Perfect. And then we'll just duplicate that. And then we'll make sure that these are aligned. And then let's make sure that these are centered. And we'll make sure that this one says sign in. All right, perfect. Then the last thing I want to do is let's add an image from Unsplash as a background. Oh, okay. Now here, let's not get bogged down. Let's do something minimal. Actually, since this is a biking, let's do outdoors. we'll add like 30% opacity. Oh man, why does that look super cool? All right, let's see. And then let's add this a little bit up. All right. And let's group these buttons together so that we can center this. And I wonder if we could benefit from putting it up like that. All right, so I personally think that's looking really, really nice. And then we'll add some finishing touches later. I think I know what we can add to make that look a lot better. Actually, let's keep that centered there. Bikely, find your people. Oh, that looks really, really nice. All right. Maybe I can do that at the end. Actually, I think I kind of like the way this app looks. This looks too. Let's try a little bit lower opacity. And then what happens if I do this? Whoa. Yeah, that's the way we're gonna do it. Okay. So let's go ahead. And one thing I am going to change here, I'm going to go ahead and give this a little bit more space, just because we did change font sizes. Alright, that looks good. And then I don't know, let's see, what if we add opacity to this? What if we did like 50%? Accessibility is very, very important. So anything that we can do to make sure that everything contrasts well and that people that everyone is able to enjoy this app as well as they can, regardless of what their capabilities are, if they're visually impaired or not. Okay, so we have reached the end. Now, technically we are done. We've gone ahead and created the hi-fi versions of these. I think we can add maybe one more thing to complete this look. So I'm going to go back to my files and I am going to go to this UI kit. It's one of my favorites. And I'm going to go to the component, the mobile UI kit itself. And then I'm just going to copy the top navigation bar. I'm going to paste it somewhere there. And then what I like to do, well, we got to make sure that the width is correct. What is the width? 844. And then boom, we've added, now it looks like an actual app on an iOS device. Okay guys, so we're done with this design challenge technically, but I think one of the last things that we can do once you're done with these high fidelity mockups, we can create a design board so that we can then post this on something like Behance or Dribble. So let's go ahead and do that right now. So we've got our 4 frames right here, and I'm just going to input a desktop frame. Let's do a MacBook Pro. Let's do a 16-inch MacBook Pro, and we're going to go ahead and slide this in here. And let's go ahead and change the color. Actually, let's not worry about the color right now. So what we're going to do, one of the things what you want to do, I've gone ahead and I've copied one of my favorite mockups right here. So this is like an iPhone style mockup, and I really like using this for creating design boards here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take all of these frames and I'm going to export them. And you can do that by clicking on the frame and highlighting the frame, going down to export. I'm going to export in 2x, and then I'm just going to export that. Perfect. All right, and now what we're going to go do, we're going to make some copies of this mockup. And then what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to insert images. I'm going to insert the images that I downloaded. So we're going to go to place image. So let's go ahead and highlight all 4 of the ones that we are uploading. And we are placing one here, one there, and one right there. And if you notice, if we zoom in a little bit, that looks really good. That looks pretty much like an iPhone. It looks very, very nice. And the only thing that I would change would probably be this order right here. So, and I might even consider enlarging this just so that there's more negative area. And then I'm going to center this. Perfect. And let's highlight them and let's add some shadows. Let's see what a shadow effect looks like. And let's go with 10, 10. Okay, that's a nice shadow. Let's add some blur effect. And let's give that 100% opacity. And now we've got some shadows. So that looks really good. And what we can do for a background color is we can take our eyedropper tool and we can go ahead and include the color. And if we don't think it's going to provide enough contrast, what we can do is go ahead and drop the opacity from that to that. And we can even add a gradient so that it looks a lot more. And then we're going to do the second color. Let's see. That color should be, let's do it a lot darker. And then this color can be a lot lighter. All right, and we won't mess with it too much, but look at that. We have created something, and then we can then select this frame and we can then export this, and we can now import this to our dribble profile. We have gone from hand-drawn wireframes to digital wireframes to our hi-fi mockups, and then lastly we have created our design page right here. So if you guys like that, thank you so much for sticking until the end of the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe for plenty more videos like this. Thank you guys. We'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace, everyone.